Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Cryptids, Creeps, and Conspiracy. The following content may involve explicit language and materials, so listener discretion is advised. Welcome back, everybody. This week, I'm pretty excited because we do not have a lot of alien-related cases. And today I am bringing one up, and with me is Tracy and Samantha from the Suspended Sentence podcast. Dear God, I need to not drink before I say that. They're here. They're lovely. I love them. You guys are great. I've caught up. I think I'm caught up on your guys' stuff pretty much. I might have missed one. My phone was being a little difficult. So they're great. Do you guys want to kind of let everybody know what's going on? I mean, I know we've done it before. I mean, it's up to you guys.
Sam, you want to do it?
You usually do it. Pushing it off on me to
take. So yeah, Suspended Sentence podcast. We are in season 2. This season, we are covering the most notorious serial killers of all time in the world. And it's been pretty interesting season thus far. We can be found at
Instagram and pretty much any social media. And then we're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Yep. The Suspended Sentence podcast.
Yep.
And if I remember correctly, Tracy also has a book.
I do.
Which I'm not going to try to mumble through. I'll let you guys do that.
I do. My first book came out last year. It's called IDP, The 13 Components to Criminal Thinking and Behavior. And book 2 will be out the beginning of next year.
I know you guys were talking about it, but I was like, did they say yet when? I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
I need to get my hands on it. Right now I'm currently saving up to go to some conventions this year. So,
well, just DM me your address and I'll send you a book.
Oh my gosh, you're amazing. I'm totally going to put it on my live feed, suckers. So get ready. Get a link and be like, hey, we'll get into why here momentarily. But I specifically picked you guys for this topic because I think it's where our two worlds collide a little, which is kind of weird to think that the true crime side, I mean, we're not serial killers, but the true crime side and the weird and the spooky stuff all kind of comes together. And it was something about it. We'll just get into it and I'll let you know because you're going to probably guess it soon.
Okay.
All right. Whew, here we go. The wilderness near Snowflake, Arizona is known for one of the most famous UFO encounters. That is, by the way, a hell of a name for a city that's in a place that's known to be so damn hot that you call it Snowflake.
Yeah.
Somebody didn't think that through. Either way, on a cool evening on November 5th, 1975, 7 members of the Timber Stand Improvement Crew were heading back to base through the Sitgreaves National Forest in a pickup truck. And one of these men was none other than Travis Walton. Anybody? Ring any bells?
I feel like that name's familiar.
He's amazing. I actually met him. He's just really cool. I always tell, I don't mean to. The first time I talked about him, I was like, oh yeah, he's really down to earth. And they all just looked at me like I was an idiot because I did not put 2 and 2 together. and I was like, what? And they're like, seriously? And I'm like, what? And they're like, that was a bad joke. I was like, what joke? It's okay. He's a cool dude. I have a picture with him, so I'll post it with this on social media whenever we release it. But while en route, the men saw an eerie yellow light through the trees, and they decided to stop and investigate, as all men do.
Yep.
Because we all know women wouldn't do that. Yeah, right?
Women are like, I'm going the opposite direction. Men are like, what's that?
Well, women would be like, let's take a selfie. Are you getting this? Hold on, let me fix my hair. Sorry, that was a pretty good little Mean Girl skit, wasn't it?
That was.
Yeah. As they peered through the trees, they spotted a saucer-shaped craft hovering about 20 feet or 6 meters above the ground, about 110 feet or 34 meters away from where they were parked. The craft then started emitting a buzzing sound that intrigued them in even further, but most of them were pretty standoffish. They kept their distance, and that was all except Travis, who apparently has some big old balls. And I can attest to that. I did meet him, but I did not see his balls. Just to clarify, Travis gained the courage. Yeah, Travis gained the courage, and before anybody could say anything, he jumps out of the truck and starts to slowly approach with his, and all his friends, typical men, are like, "Hey, come back! Don't go." Of course, nobody goes and gets him or does it. They stand back and they're just like, "Hey, I wouldn't do that if I were you." As he's walking towards the saucer in the woods, which that's bad news. As he got close, the craft shot out a ray of blue light that knocked Travis on his ass about 10 feet away, just like knocked him out cold. And the other 6 men were all witnessing this and then decided, after watching their friend get flung 10 feet away, just got in the truck and hauled ass. Just left
They
him.
left him.
Just left him. Yep.
Oh,
fucking ditched his ass. That's where that part starts. Then we're going to, fade out and fade back in. Upon awakening, Travis found himself lying flat in a hospital-like room where he was being
oh my God, he was unconscious?
Yes, they flung him back and knocked him unconscious.
He's unconscious laying on the ground and his friends just are like deuces.
Yep.
He
Okay.
had some new friends.
Yeah, it gets better. So he finds himself in this hospital-ish looking room, being observed by 3 creatures whose description sounds a little bit like this little guy. Your stereo. For anybody who's not watching the video, you can find the video on Patreon. But I have a little alien, like a little gray alien. This cracks me up. So stereotypical gray. So they say they had large dark eyes. They were about 4 to 5 feet, which is about 1.5 meters tall, pale skin, bald. It noted that the beings were wearing orange jumpsuits.
Like prison jumpsuits?
It just says orange jumpsuits. And you know what's funny? I never put the prison jumpsuit together. See, this is why I have you guys here. I would have never put that together. I was thinking like, on the moon spacesuit, but like bright orange or pumpkin or something.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So can you just imagine you wake up and there's 3 bald, big, black-eyed, gray motherfuckers in orange suits around you? Yeah.
No. And your friends ditched your ass. No.
I don't think he realized yet. I don't think he put into consideration that his friends ditched him yet. I don't think he knew. He worked up the energy to get out of the chest restraint and grabbed a weapon from a nearby tray. One thing I heard or saw was that it was kind of like a glass beaker like a tube that he kind of like, in like old school bar fight was one depiction that I saw. Another one was something like a needle or something that he found on a tray nearby. I saw a couple different things, so I'm not entirely sure. He then was wielding this weapon until those, little bitty jumpsuit wearers left. Then Travis wandered around until he kind of came across a large room with a chair in the middle of it. So he's just wandering through this spaceship with whatever weapon he has, probably still a little dazed. I'm sure he's concussed at this point. And he's waking up in this weird spot. And so he's stumbling around till he comes to this big, giant room, one chair in the middle, which sounds kind of creepy.
Count me out. Yeah, I'm hard no.
But the way he described it was, at least it's a little better. So it's not just like one weird room. So it's a big room, but it's kind of like a planetarium, which is surrounded by stars, almost like a dome. There's just glass, like you could just see out into space all around him, which would actually be kind of cool. I'm just saying that.
Yeah, except you were just abducted by aliens, so.
Oh, we get more here in a second. So while he was admiring his surroundings, two more beings entered the room. These ones were not your typical gray like he saw at the table. They were a little more human-like in appearance, and because of that, he thought the beings were there to help him. And so he just followed them. They just ushered him out of the room, like, oh, hey, like, come with us. And he was like, you look human to me. Okay. And they just kind of, baby ducked him out of there.
Seems like some mind games to me.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But in the other room, he blacked out once again, which I'm sure is probably, I don't know if it was based on something they did to him or that he was just in that bad a shape that he just couldn't physically, because he was like stumbling around, probably disoriented and all that stuff. So I don't know if he just passed that on his own, if they assisted. But either way, he blacked out. While three other humanoids covered his face with a device that looked like a mask. And I'm trying to figure out what kind of mask might, like, are we talking like a surgical mask? Are we talking like oxygen mask? Are we talking like whenever they shove those black things over your head and you go get executed? I mean, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't specify. But from there, he states that he doesn't remember anything. So whatever that mask was, totally wipes him out. Like completely. Fade out again. That's where we left him. Mask knocks him out. Whatever. Now we're going to get back down to earth, so to speak. All right. The six other men return to the scene to fetch their friend, but were obviously unable to find any trace of him. Like nothing. Not a fiber, footprint, nothing. So they then reported Travis as a missing person, and the search was on. You guys think this is a young, able-bodied man working out in the woods. From what I understood from the documentaries that I watched, their job was basically to go out and kind of controllably drop trees for natural burning or whatever to keep it from getting out of hand. And they were tree trimmers, basically, is what I understood it as. But he was there. He was responsible. He was reliable. He was a solid dude. And so this was actually the first time that there had been a reported abduction by aliens while they were still missing. So usually it's someone's taken, they come back, they report, hey, I was taken, or I saw someone taken, or whatever the case may be. So this is the first time somebody was like, he's gone. And we don't know where the fuck he's at.
Yeah, we don't know where he is.
Yeah. Like while he's not even back or gone, he's gone. And they're saying, all right, we're going to do the steps like a normal person. And so they go. So they then send out search dogs and helicopters and investigate the area. And they were unable to track anything. They were looking for maybe body, some article of clothing, you know how it is, anything that they could try to triangulate this man's location. And the dogs went straight to the spot where he got hit by the beam, and then nothing. They lost the scent, couldn't pick anything up. I mean, obviously, because he got escorted.
There's no flight patterns. There's no, like, the blue beam. Was it, like, heat or, like, blew leaves away? Like, nothing.
There's some ideas that I've heard over a couple documentaries. One was, so it never landed. It was hovering when they saw it. It was hovering when he walked up to it. And what I'm wondering is maybe the beam was it like going to like off or something. It was doing something and it didn't mean to hit Travis. And it was kind of like when you hit a dog in the middle of the road and you're like, oh shit, I better like do something about this.
Yeah.
So they just sucked him up like, oh fuck, I better fix this. And that's one theory. Because it's not like there was like a fire beam. It was literally like a tractor beam.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like a beam like protruding into the ground or anything. It was basically the purpose was, okay, we're going to go. We're going to pick him up. Like, oh shit, my bad. And then they took him on board. And
Could you imagine being like the cops that get that call? Like,
yeah.
if you don't believe in this stuff, right? Like, I'm glad that they took it as seriously as they did. Because could you imagine 911? What's your emergency?
That's not exactly how it went. It was, this guy's missing, and the police said, this motherfucker's missing. Y'all fucking did it, and we're gonna prove it.
Oh,
It was nothing about it was, oh yeah, nice story, bro, but we need to find
y'all
the body.
did something to your buddy.
Yep.
Right, because who would believe that aliens abducted? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. And you gotta think, these guys are deep in the woods. It's hard to get to. It'd be very easy to misplace the body.
Yeah.
But there would have been some evidence, and they didn't find anything. And
especially for loggers that, like you said, are like so far back in there.
Mm-hmm. And what I found interesting was they said that after the search basically was going on, they dubbed it the most extensive search party in Arizona history at the time. I mean, they had everybody in on it.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty crazy. So it wasn't like a little, step in, oh, not here, like we typically see in missing persons. Maybe it's because he didn't have a vagina. That's probably why they looked harder.
Or because he was a state employee and the Forest Service would get sued. Like,
he might have been a contractor. I think he was a contractor.
Yeah. But still, if you're working for the state and you go missing at work, that's huge liability, isn't it?
I don't know squat about state workers. My husband works for the government, and I have no fucking idea. He's a mailman.
Really?
I don't know. Yeah, he's a mailman. So
I was going to say, is he CIA?
I'd have a lot more information than this if he did. Because he's married to me, they'd never hire him. Who are you kidding?
We were laughing earlier because we recorded an episode before jumping on with you, and we were like, I was like, oh, how long does it take for a decomposing body to smell? And Mom's like, don't Google that.
In private browser.
Don't Google that. We're going to pop up on a list again.
Well, last week mine was we Googled goat penises. So,
you're definitely on a list.
Yeah, I'm definitely on a list because it was goat penises and then the average size of a penis in Zimbabwe.
You're definitely on the list.
For 2 different episodes. Yeah, never a dull moment. Fortunately for his friends, they were obviously the immediate suspect. And everyone knew it. Law enforcement then assumed that Travis had been murdered and the remaining men on the crew stashed his body out in the wilderness. All of the men were brought into the police department to undergo polygraph tests conducted by APRO, which is the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization. I almost gave you the wrong word. And each man told their story of a craft taking Travis away, and all but one of them passed the polygraph, which we all know those aren't really, they don't hold up in court, but still, I thought it was relevant.
It's interesting for sure.
Yeah. Now, the one that did not pass was labeled as inconclusive due to the fact that he left before the test was complete. This man was being heavily accused of murdering Travis himself and did not like how accusatory some of the questions were, because apparently he had gotten in a fight with Travis the same morning he went missing. So because he got in a fight with him, they were like really doubling down on this guy, and he just got pissed off and walked out. However, 5 days later, a body was left face down on the side of the road. It got up quickly, as it could, and made his way to a nearby phone booth in Heber, Arizona. That man was Travis Walton, and he had one hell of a story to tell. So Travis was immediately sent to the hospital to undergo a checkup, which makes sense. He was severely dehydrated. There was a puncture wound found on his right arm. And he found out that he had dropped 12 pounds in 5 days, which I wish I could do.
Take me!
Yeah, take me.
Take me!
Take me now. I don't even care if you probe me, man. Like, let's do this. Like, I'm down for whatever. But But yeah, so he had drastically gone through there. So he believed that the initial beam hit him and he actually died, and that the aliens took him on board to revive him and bring him back to a healthy status. Kind of like, again, like you hit a dog and you're like, oh, fuck. And so they were like, here, let me fix this. Like, I can fix this. I got this. Give me some glue. And that's what he thought happened. But this is really one abductee that he really was not ready to be in the limelight. He stated that, quote, I was nicknamed the reluctant celebrity. I never liked it or the attention, but along with the burden comes a certain amount of responsibility. Lots of people are afraid to speak about what happened to them. This helps them to be vindicated, end quote. Which he does do a great job. And he is very much, he's not showboaty or fluffy. And I keep hearing a fucking man. It's driving me crazy. Sorry. It's very, oh my gosh, maybe my mic's tapped. Are we tapped? maybe I'm hearing some Asian on the other line. Oh my God, I heard as soon as I said that, I heard something. He is very much so just, tell your story. Here's what happened to me. He doesn't, showboat it. He doesn't embellish anything. He doesn't like get real crazy with it. He just shares his story and encourages others to share their story as well because it helped him.
Mm-hmm.
So when he saw his loved ones, they told him he had been gone for 5 days, and he thought he was only gone a few hours, but they said, hey, buddy, feel your face. You've been gone a while. So he then felt his 5-day stubble and was like, holy crap, I've really been gone. There are a few that say that the abduction was staged by the company because they were something about their schedule. They were trying to find a way out of the contract or get an extension or something. Supposedly, not really found any actual evidence on that. But they also polygraphed Travis when he got back, and he also passed his polygraph test, which I found very interesting. Not only that, but if this had been a hoax and he had been hiding in the wilderness for 5 days, he more than likely would have succumbed to the elements because each night the temperature plummeted to about 8 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 13.3 degrees Celsius in the span of time that he was missing. Although the initial 1976, are you guys hearing that?
Yeah, I heard it that time.
Oh, you did? I didn't hear it.
You didn't hear it? It sounds like it's just like staticky though.
Oh, I mean, it almost sounded like a goat. Like, maybe it's the goat man.
Dun dun dun.
He's coming after me. Although if you heard when you hear the episode, you'll understand why that's a little weird. But anyway, after the investigation back in 1976, it was conducted by Bill Spalding of the Ground Saucer Watch, and they basically botched the whole investigation. That's so weird. I wish I could understand what it's saying. Another investigation by the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, which is APRO, didn't really. They did a really good job. I just don't know how I felt about necessarily some of the stuff they said, but whatever. But what they did was they carried out multiple hypnotic, medical, polygraph, and psychiatric. What is talking? Sorry, that's like, I can't believe you guys can't hear that. That is so weird. Like, it's like really loud when it's yeah. All right. So that I think was weird. So the hypnotic and stuff, but the psychiatric exams were good. Polygraphs, iffy. Medical exam, obviously that's good to do. But he passed every test with no trace of drugs, no trace of alcohol at all. In 2014, Ben Hansen did an analysis of the trees that were surrounding the area that he was said to be abducted from. And the results showed that they were experiencing accelerated growth as a response to radiation exposure, which is some like pretty good evidence that something not from here was here. So the rings of the trees were compared to others in the surrounding area, and that validated the theory that the trees closest to the event dealt with the more substantial change So again, closer it was, the more radiation it had. Another interesting piece of information was that Travis was awarded $5,000 for having the best UFO encounter, which I thought was kind of cool, but kind of funny. I'm like, dang. And some people say that could have been an incentive to lie or to hoax or something like that. But I don't really see that really much as an option. I mean, it's $5,000, but is that really that much to label yourself as this person for the rest of your life? I don't know. But Travis began writing a book as a means to help cope with the events that he kind of had to, unfortunately endure. A few months after returning home, it is presumed that the artist that Travis entrusted to illustrate was Mike Rogers, which is also Prue's boss when this happened. So he basically was working with the boss. And if they were thinking anything was going to happen, you would assume that you'd want to distance yourself from everybody. But there he was. Berkeley Books published The Walton Experience in March of 1978. And whatever it is coming from Tracy. Please tell me you're doing that on purpose. Are you doing that on purpose?
Me?
Samantha?
What? I'm not in
like-
the same room as Tracy.
Your camera was going off and on. Did you turn it off and on?
No.
Oh. Okay. Well, when I hear the voices, Tracy's face lights up like she's talking, even though she's not. And then your camera so when you go off, it says iPhone. Your picture goes away and it just says iPhone. And so it went away. So I was like, oh. And then you came back on. So I was like, oh, see, I did it again. I heard it and your thing lit up. Okay. Anyway.
We're not even in the same rooms.
I love that.
I don't think mine have gone off at all. Just saying. Maybe it's Larry.
No.
Larry, stop it.
Anyway, his book, they said, sold 50,000 copies in less than a month's time. I keep watching it because it's like she keeps disappearing or getting dim.
I'm getting dim?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait until you watch the playback of this.
Yeah. I'm going to have to send it to you guys just so you guys can hear. Hopefully you can hear and see it. I'm immediately going to go try to play this back to see if I can hear whatever's talking to me. Even Travis himself claims that the movie that was based on his abduction is not, clearly Hollywood took some, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Took some liberties there?
Yes. It was not entirely truthful. And he admits that, which it wasn't his choice. So, but according to 1998 journal from MUFON, it says, quote, when ufologists discuss the most credible abduction cases, 3 stand out. The Betty and Barney Hill case, the Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker Pascagoula case, and the Travis Walton case. End quote.
Yeah.
The movie Fire in the Sky was then, produced in 1993, and they said they based off them. But again, he says it's primarily all bullshit. The movie's bullshit. His book is his book, but the movie is bullshit. And I met him at the 2023 CryptidCon in Lexington, and he was so sweet and, kind of quiet, well put together. He had a little suitcase and he had on a suit and he had his hair all done and we're gingers together. So I had somebody take our picture and I was trying really hard not to just totally fangirl out and scream in his ear. So I was holding my composure really well for myself. And what's funny is a couple cryptid creatures, which is Todd and Brian, shout out to them. I'm going to have to do my little name pokes here. I had them take a picture while I stood next to Travis. And I told him thank you for letting me get a picture with him. And he walked off and I waited for him to get far enough away. And they handed me a phone. They're like, do you even know who that is? And I just lost it. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I can't wait. Oh my God. It was so funny. But it was just funny because I was just stone cold. And they're like, do you even know who that is? They really thought I had no idea because I just was take my picture.
You just played it so cool.
Yeah, take my picture, boy.
Nice.
But yeah, so that is what I have for Travis. And I had to giggle because when I was doing my notes, I was like, oh yeah, there's search dogs and a helicopter, and they're doing a missing persons report, and they're doing polygraphs, and there's medical examiners. I was like, I gotta get them on. I was like, it's too much.
So you want me to kind of go on here for a second?
Yeah.
So this is what I think. I think that it's absolutely ridiculous to think that humans on Earth is the only life form in the universe. I think that that's ridiculous. But then I think that when calls like this would go in, well, I don't know. You tell me, because you probably know better than I do. How many alien sightings or abductions have been reported? Like,
thousands.
Thousands. Okay.
I mean, thousands, and like, I think it's usually like hundreds to thousands a year.
A year. Okay. So, but then when a call like this would go to law enforcement, they would be like, what the fuck? We have no.
Now they don't even call law enforcement usually.
Right.
I mean, unless there's something that I got to do the Hopkinsville goblins. I got to do those. Unless it's like actively hurting or something about your property, people don't usually call. They usually will report it to like the MUFON, which is Mutual UFO. I can't keep track all the damn acronyms.
Yeah. You're good.
But people don't generally, I don't think, report them to the police. They'll report them to these other agencies that are actually there to actually look into it and not just, well, I mean, back in the day there was it Blue Book or whatever bullshit it was, which was just like a total joke.
Yeah.
That one was a little different. They basically came in and just was like, blimp.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. Everybody was just kind of like, well, now we don't want to talk about it because they're going to totally.
I went to a wedding when I still lived in Texas. We went to a wedding in Telluride, Colorado, and so we drove through like New Mexico and all that, and we went through Roswell, New Mexico, and they feed into their like alien stuff hard there.
Oh yeah,
like everything is alien themed.
We all know that there's nothing there.
Right.
They did this whole thing so they could move all the shit. So they're like, look over here while we're like sneaking it out the back door.
Right.
And
yeah, they play into that hard. We were driving through and I was like, all of the hotels are like alien themed. The restaurants are alien themes. Everything. And I'm like, oh, what?
Yeah. Oh, here you go, Tracy. So on August 9th, 2023, there had been about 2,000 UFO sightings reported in the U.S. alone. That year. Just for that year.
For that year.
Yeah. So from Jan 1 to August 9th.
Yeah. I feel like, you know, when the government released all of the alien information or whatever that they had, right?
Disclosure,
Yeah, in the whole world, we're all just like looking at them like, yeah, we fucking know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not to mention, they waited till we were in the middle of a fucking pandemic.
Right.
And all this other crap to be like, oh, by the way, aliens are real.
Yeah, and we're like, no shit. Thank you.
And I mean, this obviously was time so that, you know, people were distracted. Not many people would look. And even some of the stuff that they're releasing, they're not even releasing the whole thing.
Right.
And then they're just like, well, there's a thing somewhere, but we don't know what that thing is or where it is now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so vague that it's basically useless.
Right. And that's what I feel like. I feel like if they don't know, they're just going to dismiss it as not factual.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've probably honestly all seen something extraterrestrial and we're all just like, oh, look at that light. That's cool. And then on with our day.
Or that satellite or, oh my gosh. So what do you guys think of April 8th? You guys know what's on April 8th?
No, what's April 8th?
Oh, the solar thing?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Girl,
well, let me tell you, thanks for asking. I bought a dehydrator and I've been dehydrating everything just in case.
In case, what do you think's going to happen?
What do you think is going to happen?
Well, the lights are going to come back on.
Well, is it? Because all the conspiracy theorists say that the energy grid is going to go down.
But what would cause an energy grid to go down?
China? Russia? Solar eclipses?
I guess I just don't know how that correlates with an eclipse.
I don't either, but I've been on conspiracy theory TikTok and it's in my head. It's fine.
That's true. Now I got to say this. Now of course I cover conspiracy theories, and I love how I roll my eyes so hard that I can see the back of my head. But I think with me, it's kind of like, we're going to party like it's 1999, right? Or, everything's going to end in 2012, or they find something, anything that only happens every so often.
Mm-hmm.
And they cling to it like the end of the world. I'm like, but if it was going to be the end of the world, then it would have been the end of the world the last time it happened.
Right.
Unless it is the end of the world this time.
But it wouldn't be caused by something that's already happened more than once.
I know. I was just making
Am I?
It might. We don't know.
You don't know.
Well, I mean, they did have that whole solar flare with the cell phones, which I thought was really interesting, that the solar flare only affected a certain part of the globe and not the entire part of the globe that's on that side.
I know. That was interesting as well.
Oh, yeah. And only one carrier? Huh.
I think that where
that
the
works,
fear
right?
in all of this comes from is lack of trust in our freaking government and being lied to all the time.
Well, that's because you can't trust them.
No, you can't. And so, who knows? But I know that they control freaking everything. There's a bad storm in freaking Texas, and you guys can't get to the grocery store, and you can't get to the gas station, and you can't buy groceries, and you can't, anything can happen just because the government freaking decides. Our whole world shut down. The whole world shut down over COVID, like the power
over
that they have.
A cold.
Exactly.
Now, granted, I've had COVID 2 or 3 times, and it really sucked.
It does suck.
Oh, yeah. And I was vaccinated.
Yeah.
For those of you who couldn't hear the quotes, they were very angry quotes.
Yeah.
Vaccine.
So that's where it all comes from. It's just, being prepared for whatever is going to happen. Because COVID came on what? COVID was like
election year.
Complete world shutdown was what? 30 days?
I just know it was election year, so that's what I'm waiting to see what the next virus is going to be come October.
I know.
That we got to be segregated, because now they know that they can close everybody off and make us all be at home and be slaves.
And we all listen.
Well, I mean, I told them to get fucked, but.
Well, I did too, but the majority of the world was like.
It made me realize that I don't have a big enough arsenal. I mean, right now I'm working with brute force. But that's partially because I also, I know myself well enough to not trust myself with a lot of weapons in the house. Seriously, yeah. There's times where if my meds and stuff aren't working, I'm like, you need to get these out of this house now.
Really?
Because, I'm like, thankfully I know when I can feel it coming, and I'm aware enough to say, like, either you watch me or you get them the hell out of here, because I'm not going to guarantee anything.
Well, thank God you're responsible like that. A lot of people
are. Well, it's only probably because I'm medicated. Other than that, I'm loose cannon. So what I found was, though, my work.
Well, we got the dehydrated food, so we're good if nothing comes back.
I'm sure I might. I think I've got a few weeks here that I could probably survive before I waste away.
Well, if you need dehydrated food, you just know where to go.
I wish you guys would have heard the episode I just recorded, because we found out that apparently I have no shame in eating humans.
Oh.
I don't care at all. If I'm hungry and you're there, I'll eat your ass.
Fantastic.
We were talking about Wendigos.
Noted.
So I was like, you know what? I said, I'd eat somebody if I was stuck in the woods with a stranger. He was like, I wouldn't. I was like, I wouldn't hesitate. If I'm hungry and you're there, you're gone. So, but yeah,
survival.
I just thought it was interesting because I don't know. I've heard some stuff about it, but I don't understand what the big deal is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's only supposed to be out for like maximum 5 minutes. That's it. So what the hell are you going to do in 5 minutes? Well, I mean, women must be running this thing. But I can't. I don't know. I guess I don't see the significance or how it would be a big deal.
Did you say that this has happened before?
I think they said it happens every like 200, 300 years or something like that, isn't it?
But not this many that cross at the same time, right? Like the power of it or something. Like there's something different about it, isn't there?
Oh, I was wrong. It was 1,200 years.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still post Jesus. Thank you. I like that. My mom karaoke's that song whenever we go out. But yeah, it looks like...
Is it an episode if one of us doesn't sing something? And
there was a Great American Eclipse in 2017. Wait, what? The last August 2044. The fuck does that mean?
I'm telling you, girl.
September 14th, 1205. The last total solar eclipse in this path. In 7 other capital states. So about 1,200 years ago. But it happened.
Yeah.
But the technology and the power wasn't a thing.
Right.
But
1,200 years ago.
There's been other eclipses.
Yeah, there was one, I mean, in Wyoming, the big one. When was that?
I remember seeing one. I remember doing what I wasn't supposed to do, and I looked at it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I remember. I just remember standing outside my aunt's house and being like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then going on about my business. But I don't think it was a total one. I think it was just a partial. I just don't see how it would make a difference if it's eclipsed before.
I think, again, it's just that unknown.
True.
They don't know.
I guess we'll find out.
Yep. They just don't know. And so you plan for the worst case scenario, I guess. And
we need to live it up before April 8th.
Yeah. I mean, maybe don't go spend your life savings and stuff like that, but.
Now, who was it that, oh man, I don't know if you guys covered this or not. There was a couple, I think they were in Florida, and there was a hurricane, and this man and woman, they basically made the best out. I mean, they were stuck there, and they went all Mad Max, basically. Like they'd like drive around, they like barbecue and like all this stuff, and they would go around and like get people stuff, and they were also, I think, really high on drugs, but they were basically like partying it. I mean, they thrived in the environment post hurricane. Mm-hmm. So when they came in and they started restructuring everything, and they were getting people back to what they were used to, the people just these two just failed miserably.
It was New Orleans right after Katrina. We haven't covered it, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah. Zach something. To me, it's his name.
Yeah, it's just crazy how some people just take up the staff and they're like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't have a staff. I've got some crocheted aliens. I don't know what that'll get me, but maybe if we are invaded, I can be like, oh look, it's for you.
Make friends with everybody.
Yeah, I knew you were coming.
I think that if they were dangerous or they wanted to do any harm to us, that they would have.
Yeah.
They just don't know how to communicate with us, or we're too stupid to communicate with them or something.
Well, what I think sucks is, I mean, I've heard a few different things, theories and stuff, as far as like the Greys, which I am so over the Greys. It's like after the 60s, everything's a Grey. There's no other aliens. It's just them.
Right.
And to me, that's bullshit. But also, one thing I heard was that maybe they're time travelers. So as from way, 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 way obviously ahead, and where we eventually evolve into them, which, if you think of the concept, our heads get bigger, our brains get bigger. Everything that we're doing now is all internet and brain power. We don't need physical anything. We could just make machines that do it for us. And so over time, we would then, in theory, go to them. But it's like we go too far, and somebody says like maybe there's a threat or something when it is that far ahead to where they're like, shit, like we need more primal DNA. Like we need to basically start mixing our petri dish because we need the muscle mass, we need the height, we need whatever it is to help whatever's happening in the future. So they come back, and that's why they take people and run all the tests and stuff. That's one theory. I mean, it makes sense on one hand. A little out there, but I just wish that there were like cool aliens, you know, like Flatwoods or something. And instead we just get Greys. In this encounter, though, I did find it a little interesting because so he had the 3 Greys when he woke up. Then he goes into the room because he wields a weapon. And they're like, fuck this shit, I'm out. And he finds the room, and then there's human-like entities that then come get him. So it makes me wonder, is it 2 different species? Are they hybrids? Is one more an automaton than the other one is?
Right.
And maybe they're just really realistic. Because then they bring him back in, and did I say did the human ones put the mask on him, or did the...
Yeah, the human ones, I think.
Yeah, and then he blacks out. So he doesn't know if they did any tests, if they did do tests, was it the human ones? Was it the Greys? I mean, at that point, he was out cold. Did the human ones knock him out cold just to place him back on the road? He didn't know how long he'd been gone prior to that.
And he was gone a total of 5 days, right? 5
Yep.
full days.
Yep.
You do a lot of shit to somebody in 5 days.
Yep. I mean, you hear missing time, but it's usually like 15, an hour, couple hours maybe. But 5 fucking days, that is a long gap. I mean, a long
I wonder
Yeah.
if he did something like hypnosis or something like memory hypnosis, if he would be able to recall it.
So, well, they said when the AFRO, or I think it's AFRO, APRO, sorry, Jesus, when they did their tests and everything, hypnotic tests were, like the hypnotic regression was done, and I think that's where he got most of his information from. I think there's still a lot that he just doesn't get. And I don't know why, or I don't know if can they delete it? I don't know how that works.
Well, I mean, if you've ever had surgery or something and you go under, with anesthesia or whatever, you never get those memories back.
Nope. Which is interesting.
That is interesting.
Unless you haven't had a body experience. I wonder if they're
Correct.
If they're doing all of these crazy things to these people, I wonder if any of them have died, like on the table, and then got revived. But I wonder if any of them have had an out-of-body experience on the spacecraft. That'd be pretty fucking cool. Because I hear stories about people that have the out-of-body experience, and they're looking at the tools, the people. They can see everything in the room, and they remember all of it. Welcome back.
I got booted from the session.
You both did.
Oh, she did too?
Yeah. You
What
went
the hell?
first.
Oh, she's
You went first, and then she went.
I got disconnected.
I got disconnected too.
Too
Welcome
funny.
to this.
Well, at least it worked out because that's pretty much the end. So,
Well, thank you. That'll keep me up at night.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us. We love you so much.
We do. We love you
I
so
love
much.
you guys. You guys are great. So thanks for being here. Again, everybody, the Suspended Sentence Podcast, and check out Tracy's book. But again, remember, go check. Well, if you haven't listened to my episodes, what the hell are you doing here? Go back and listen from the beginning. Check them out. Don't forget, rate, review, like, share, subscribe. Do whatever the hell you got to do to get us out there. Do that. It helps us out greatly. And word of mouth is the best way for us to get our podcasts out there and get more listeners. But until next time, everybody, I'll see ya.
Bye.
Stay safe.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Please subscribe, rate, and review anywhere you listen. This is more beneficial than you may know and will help others locate the podcast. Don't forget to check out my Patreon page as well. We currently have 2 tiers. The Snallygaster tier that'll get you unedited bonus audio, a sticker, a shout out on the podcast, and access to the private Discord server. The second tier is the Phantom tier, and that'll get you all of the benefits of the Snallygaster tier, plus access to live streams and Q&A sessions, and is the only place you can access all video footage from regular episodes as well as the Patreon exclusive episodes. You can subscribe today at patreon.com/cryptids, creeps, and conspiracy. Don't forget to head over to the TeePublic website and take a look at a variety of merch options that are available. You can also find and follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, TikTok, X, and YouTube. All of these links can be found in the description of this episode under the Linktree hyperlink. Until next time, my friends, dare to believe.